All right, welcome back to the food forest tour. This is part two. If you just watched part one, for you this is a few seconds later. For me it's a few hours later, just after getting back home. And we stopped the tour kind of at the entrance to the food forest here. And we'll continue that way. We'll go down to the lower area, check out the pawpaws. And I think I might do a part three where we just chill out and hang around the pond, because a lot of people want to see pond videos. So maybe we'll spend a whole episode and just see what we see. Try to find frogs and kind of act like kindergarten kids. So here is the reason I'm showing you this is a little guild that I created with some lilacs, comfrey, ostrich fern. We've got Queen Anne's lace and Shasta daisies and elderberries, currants in there. And this is an apple tree that I practice my grafting on, and they grow decent enough apples. It's a wild apple tree, but the apples are pretty nice. And in this area, this is where I actually do my composting. So this is actually the top of a swale, believe it or not. You can't see it, but this little slice here is a little higher and right across there. And the drainage for the house and the general front lawn, if I just pan across and I show the front lawn, it all slopes down here and it hits this food forest strip. I've talked about this in other videos, but I'm going to try to restate some of these things that newer watchers might not have seen. This is intentionally designed this way with water flows in mind, and the general run of the water across the land is towards this, and then it hits this food forest strip and just gets soaked up and absorbed. The catchment area for this rainfall isn't necessarily that high. It's just this front lawn area, but regardless, if there's a big rainfall event, there is water that will hit there, and this will soak it up. If there's a really big rainfall event, then it can actually flow around this corner, and it'll flow down into here. And here we've kind of tilted the land slightly and started a wedge here. So this was all graded when we planted this out, so that the water can flow this way and go down this second swale. Not really swale, it's a very minor swale. It's just a few inches of grade, and water will sit and hold up against that and then soak into there. And if it's enough water that it overflows that, it actually comes up around and will soak down into into this third swale, I guess, and that goes down in here, and there's a third swale right here, and then if it gets above that, it'll fill up and it'll start to overflow around this crevice, which I've planted, a rock, for example, here to prevent erosion of that. And this is all rock in here. And then it'll actually come down through here and go into the composting area. Now this composting area I let go kind of wild, and unfortunately we've got nasty invasives. These dog strangling vines are constantly coming up. So what we do is we try to harvest it before they go to seed, and we cut them and we fill our compost bins with them. So we turn that into nutrient that we can then add into the food forest. But regardless, the water comes down here, where it can soak and leach up all of the nutrients out of the compost, and then it flows down further into this larger swale. Now this is a water holding swale. This one can hold quite a bit more water than the first two. If I get down here, I just don't want to roll my ankle. This swale now actually goes right across the property. And if I go this way and show you, it actually is a fairly large swale. This is maybe about 5 feet, maybe 4 feet. Yeah, 4 feet deep and 2 or 3 feet wide. I would, if I could do it again, want slightly wider swales and less deep. But because we're on a hill, you're kind of forced, how wide you can go before you start cutting into the hill so much that you get, erosion and issues like that. On the hillside here, we've planted in some raspberries. So there's some wild raspberries here. These are black cap raspberries in here. And they're just, I believe that's a black cap. They're red, but I think they should turn red. Black, maybe not. Maybe these are just wild reds. But either way, we put raspberries all on the side of this hill. And then on this bottom side, we've got a butternut tree. We've got an apple tree here. And we've got comfrey. I was running a little plant nursery down here, but it's kind of gotten a little shady under these sumacs. These sumacs I use as bird food, lemonade flavored. You can kind of take the the flowers, the red flowers at the top, and turn those into like a lemonade. But mostly I use them to do a rotational coppice. So I will cut these down on a roughly a 4-year cycle, where I'll come through and I'll cut about a quarter of them. And you can see this is kind of an area where I've cut them and they've regrown out of the stump, and then they'll regrow into all this. And this is one of the fastest ways that you can sequester and hold carbon in organic matter. So if you are really someone who wants to, pull carbon out of the air and do something useful with it, not turn it into liquid petroleum fuels through carbon capture technology and all that kind of scam that I think that industry is, but turn it into plants, then a coppice system like this is fantastic. So what do I do with all the wood that I cut down? I turn that into biochar, and then you can see my videos on biochar, and then I sequester that deep into the soil. So I add the biochar into my compost, I inoculate it with life, and then it acts as a 2,000-year carbon soil amendment when I put it into my garden. So this is a way to get enormous amounts of carbon by cutting these trees down, turning them into biochar. You release a little bit of carbon, which they would do anyways when they decompose. So you actually interrupt that cycle, and you store roughly 60% of the carbon in the biochar into a 2,000-year stable version of carbon, of charcoal. And it's one of the best things we can do for growing our soils and creating a fertility battery for your soils. So a little bit of an aside there on biochar. I hope you found that somewhat interesting. And we'll continue on with the food forest tour. We've been harvesting some of these black currants. These are one of the most medicinal plants that you can plant on your food forest. They have something like 1,000 times the vitamin C that a blueberry does, and a blueberry has good vitamin C. And these make great jams, great wines, and they're just really good fresh eating. They're a little sour and bitter, but they're really tasty. Ooh, and when you get them ripe like that, they're actually quite sweet. We've got a whole bunch of trees that are just starting to come up that I planted from smaller plant, like from seed. You can see we've got some more dog strangling vine that I must have missed growing in the rhubarb seed. So this is rhubarb that I've let go to seed, and I'm just going to pull this dog strangling vine because I don't want it going to seed. So I'm just constantly fighting this dog strangling vine. Some people, and I think the 1950s, thought it was a nice plant to bring over here as an ornamental, and it's unfortunately terribly invasive here. So that's fun. Yeah, so constantly fighting that stuff out. We've got sweet cicely and flowers everywhere. Tons of red currants growing here. This is so nice. These are super healthy. It's really nice to just pop out into the backyard and have all these healthy fruit that you can just harvest. So yum. We've got some phlox in flower right now, and I really do am a huge advocate of making sure that we have tons of flowers in our food forest. We've got a peach that I think is probably on its last year, I'm guessing. This one is just not very happy, and I like to show you, the things that work and the things that don't work. This did work for many, many years, but it's a short-lived tree, especially here, and especially when there's such intense strains on it like peach leaf curl. And then we unfortunately didn't really know about thinning fruit, and it cracked, and we lost a huge chunks of the tree, and it just never really recovered well from that. So you can see that this one's probably not long for the world. But because of that, we've got a good scaffold, or at least a decent scaffold. So I thought, let's try growing some grapes up it. So we're going to turn this tree into a grape scaffold, turning our problems into solutions the permaculture way. We've harvested some of this comfrey on the border here of our raspberry patch. This is, you can see, actually because I harvested that, you can see the swale kind of cutting across through there, down in there. And we've been giving this to the chickens. We've been using this as chop and drop for filling out some soil building around certain areas where we've been pulling plants out of, just to keep the soil covered. And then I'm going to come back in here and harvest some of these raspberries and freeze those up. These daylilies are edible. You can eat the flowers. They're very healthy. And again, more dog strangling vine. Very, very annoying plant. So I think I've got, I don't know, a couple buckets worth of raspberries out here that I can grab as well. And I will continue with the food forest tour in a sec, but I gotta get a handful of food. Oh boy, those just are so good. Stepping up here, we've got some, look at this. This is the weirdest little asparagus I've ever seen. Super, super strange. The way that it turned out, it turned into like a, it almost looks like a cactus. It's thin. That is so weird. I've never seen that before. Very interesting. If you know what that is, let me know in the comment section. I've never seen asparagus grow like that. Super neat. But we do also grow not just male asparagus, but we grow female asparagus as well. A lot of places will say just grow male because you'll get bigger shoots and all that, but we are also in the business of collecting berries and spreading them everywhere. So we need females for that. This is a male, but we do need female asparagus for spreading fruit, and spreading food is the name of the game, in my opinion. We got pears and apples, and again, we let the Queen Anne's lace kind of grow wild. It's a great pollinator for insects. You know, we got a little bit of, close your eyes, get your kids out of the room. Get your kids out of the room. There's something going on here. Oh, they are having a ball. Don't mind me. Just throwing caution to the wind. Living in the moment. That's what I love. So we've got some sumac coming up here in certain areas of the food forest where I'm not growing other trees. I don't mind the sumac coming in because I want to close the canopy off. It's great insect food, great bird food. It does want to kind of thicket, but that's okay with me. Okay, so let's continue on. Rosie's down in there trying to get some raspberries. So funny. Okay, so we're gonna just spin. Bear with me for a second here as I pop over here and check out some of the Seabuckthorn here. Actually, at my feet, we've got lots of strawberries that didn't produce a single strawberry this year, so that's interesting. I think they didn't get much water, and I didn't water anything in here, so maybe we'll get some fall strawberries out of those. We've got Japanese beetles on the Seabuckthorn plant, so that's interesting. I've never really seen that. They don't seem to be eating it. They seem to also just be enjoying themselves. Unfortunately, Japanese beetles are just everywhere. But somewhat, you know, the damage is in check. Somewhat, I don't really notice too much damage. We're just looking back through the rest of the food forest. And we've got Seabuckthorn here. Some of the berries are starting to ripen up a little bit. And we've got butternut here that's really put on a ton of growth this year. This is now 8 feet tall. And the other branch is over there. And we've got this Seabuckthorn as a understory nitrogen fixer to it that we can chop and drop. And we've got some of these ripening up a little bit. These won't be at all ripe yet, but I want to just taste them. They're actually pretty good. They got some juice in them. So I could start harvesting some of the yellow ones, depending on how many I get through the year. But I think we'll for the most part leave that until they start turning a nice bright orange. Another apple tree here. Some more phlox over there. We've got white currants. Actually, let me just check those and see how many white currants we have on this year. Yeah, I suspected this. The white currants are really popular with the birds. They're quite a bit sweeter than the red currants. They're just so good. So there's not too many left. I didn't get hardly any this year, and they're all being eaten. And we'll just film this one like a continuous tour. So I apologize for any video, spinning or anything like that. But I find some people really like to have this continuous tour so that they can see the layout of the land. This is Lucy's tree, so Lucy's maple here. And she just sits under this tree all day long usually. She's inside now, it's very, very hot. And she sits just under there and just watches people drive by. We've got some grapes here. You can see we've got a fungus that's growing in here. I think these are actually, believe it or not, wine caps that have gone too far, and I didn't get around to harvesting them because I didn't see them there. So I missed a crop of wine caps. We've got a Seabuckthorn and grape guild here. So these are really nice. I believe these are Concord grapes. These are fantastic grapes for growing up in a cold climate. Definitely check out Concord grapes if you don't have any. And I've got a little bit of our food forest strips down by the road there, where we've got some smaller plants. We've got some of the sunflower Jerusalem artichokes here as well, just for nice flowers kind of in the background. My wife thinks they look a little weedy, so we put stuff like hydrangeas and daylilies in the front near the roadway, just because they look a little bit, I don't know, more nice and normal. And we've actually got, oh man, poison ivy sneaking its way through my wood chip pile. So we'll have to figure out something with that. Oh, look at this, it is just really established. It likes this. So there was either some poison ivy in this little guild that I didn't notice, or a bird ate the berries, because birds actually really do like poison ivy berries. And maybe a couple years ago deposited some fruit seeds by bird droppings there, and now it's established itself. So I'll have to probably cut this whole thing back in the fall, cut back really far, and then do a really thick sheet mulch, multiple layers of wood chips or cardboard, just to make sure that I get rid of that poison ivy. It can be kind of tough to get rid of though. We've got grapes here growing up this trellis. This trellis was originally meant for kiwi, but the kiwi that I planted here just didn't make it for whatever reason. Oh, we got Ginny living in. What are you doing? Hey, baby girl. We got a little wasp nest that I'm guessing the dogs knocked over. Not wasp nest, I mean like a little habitat for wasps that I put in. And yeah, we've got this trellis that we tried kiwi up. The kiwi didn't grow, so we put grapes in just to try something different, and the grapes are doing well. And this is an autumn olive that was here, and I've left it. So there's autumn olive all around us, so it's not a huge load of the native autumn olive around. And I just basically forage off that. It's really high fiber. It is invasive. There's no way I can remove it from everywhere around though, especially stuff that's not even on my property. So I do let it grow. I'll let that one and one more grow on my property. And then I'll come down here. This is the other end of that swale that I was talking about at the beginning of the video there. And it comes right out to here. And in this one here, we've got sumac growing on the edge. We had some apple trees. You can see it down in there, but it got swallowed by the sumac. Actually, I think this is another one here, and just got shaded out. So it's at the edge of my property. It had a little bit of neglect, and this is what happens with the neglect. If you don't watch some stuff, you can lose trees to competition of canopy, and sumac grows super fast, so it was able to get up over top of the apple trees. So I can fix that at a later date, but lots to do. Here we've got blueberries, or blackberries, asparagus, goldenrod, a linden tree, really nice linden tree. And the blackberries here are doing really, really fantastic. These are thornless. They don't spread like in the Pacific Northwest at all. These have been here for about 7 years now, and they've never once leaped across here. I put them in this island guild here because I figured I could mow around them and stop them from spreading, but they really don't want to spread. So we just harvest the blackberries, and we're going to get a ton of blackberries this year. these will come in about another month or two. These are a very late season crop, and it's nice to have the diversity for that reason, because you can always get food all through the season. Down here a little further from the pond, I can really tell the difference in the insects. We're getting swarmed by mosquitoes and horseflies right now, and even though we're just several hundred feet away from the pond, being that much further away from the dragonflies is just so noticeable. We've got a little cedar forest here that we've maintained. My original goal with this property was to actually cut this out and swale this whole hill, and just had subsequent swales all the way down the hill, until I read about actually the valuable nature of cedars for early nesting birds. So early nesting birds want protection from predators. They want habitat in order to put nests in, and it's really important that you have some form of evergreen on your property, and cedar's really good for that. So we've actually left this up, and now it's kind of a nice little mature forest feel, and then you emerge out into our little kind of grassland prairie, where we've got lots of wildflowers planted in this wildflower garden that we've converted over into wildflowers. And we've got some overstory trees like maples and walnuts and oaks that we've planted in there. And then we've got this wildflower old man walking trail area, which I'll take you on a small tour of now. I think I've got about another 10 minutes or so of film left on the camera, so I'll try to be quick but thorough down here. I do want to show all the daisies and wildflowers that we've got popping up in here. Really, really nice. We've got black-eyed Susans in there. Just really, really, really nice to see different flowers growing everywhere. And we've got tons of raspberries. So I was through here yesterday picking out raspberries on this patch. So there are still some I can go grab. We've got an ash tree that's always depositing some branches down, and I should probably take it down before it falls naturally. That is this guy right here. So I'm just like cutting a standing dead tree is very, very dangerous. I know leaving it is dangerous. I should probably get someone I should call and get that done professionally. They call those widow makers, by the way. So if you're a homesteader and you're thinking of tackling a project like that yourself, it's probably better to get someone else to take the liability and the danger for cutting down a standing dead tree. Those are the things that can kill you. You cut one, it starts to crack and it shoots a splinter that literally, pierces you. It can be really dangerous. So I don't want to see anyone getting hurt trying to take on projects that they shouldn't. We are down in the Pawpaw area, and this is one edge of the walking path. On this edge, we do have poison ivy growing in there. So I want to kind of just, if I can, quickly get through here. I usually like to mow this first just to make sure that it's not spreading out, but you can see it's creeping out right to where my feet are. So I just want to quickly get through this, and I'm watching for poison ivy as I go. It's one of the downsides about this property is that there's poison ivy everywhere, and I've been working on slowly eradicating it over the last decade, but it is very hard to do when new batches come every year with bird droppings. Alright, so here's the pawpaws. So you can see we've got fairly loaded up with pawpaws. This had literally hundreds of pawpaws though, and we still have quite a few left. I think the plant has dropped at least 80 to 90% of the pawpaws all by itself, and we're left with not too many, more than last year, so that's nice. This cluster, I don't know, should I thin that one? I'm not sure what that'll look like. And you can see here's like kind of a little bit of one of the pawpaw clusters that the tree would have shed. There could also be deer coming down here eating some of this stuff, and we've got pawpaws right up, really high up there this year. So we'll have to keep an eye on the floor for fallen fruit. Turning around behind me, this one here is just totally loaded up as well. So we've got lots of pawpaws in here. One of the things about growing pawpaws in Canada is that once you see a pawpaw that's kind of falling behind like this one, I can probably just pinch this one off. I don't want to damage the other one. I can pinch this one off because I know it won't have the time required to grow into a full pawpaw. We just have a slower or a shorter growing season. And when it gets cold, when the weather turns, it turns real quick. And we're right at, you know, we're actually well pushing the northern limit for these pawpaws and where they grow. And again, all this dog strangling vine, it is just everywhere. I don't want to pull too hard and rip some pawpaws off, but you can see it just spiraling around this tree, and it'll just strangle the tree out. It's a nasty little plant, that's for sure. We've got a corkscrew willow here that I planted because I wanted to make really cool old man walking staves for down here. So this old man walking trail, one day I'm gonna have a cool twisted old man walking staff that I planned roughly, you know, maybe 20 years beforehand. So that'll be really fun. At the bottom of this, we've got black cap raspberries. I think, did I show a video of these? I know I was down here picking them. I don't remember if I filmed it. These are one of my favorites. These are one of the tastiest fruit that we have, but the thorns are a little nastier than other raspberry varieties. But the taste on black cap raspberries might be my favorite fruit, perhaps other than mulberries. I think mulberries might be the number one, but this is a treat right here. Another pawpaw tree here. This one doesn't have as many fruit. There's a couple up there. It might be hard for you to see on the video. It's a lot easier to see in real life. And then raspberries everywhere. You know, common theme, just walking around surrounded by food and just eating as we film. I do hope that a video like this is somewhat inspirational and makes people say, hey, I want that, and then just go out and start planting. Because the world needs that. We need as many people planting food as possible. So this is the rest of the winding old man walking trail. I'm not seeing too many of the cherries and currants and elderberries growing, but I know they're in there somewhere. We've got a lot of high bush cranberries in there as well. This sumac looks like it fell right across my guild, so I'll have to clean that up this winter time. And we've just got more raspberries down in here. So raspberries are doing fantastic. If you pick a raspberry and it's really soft, it like breaks in your hand, it's so ripe, just do yourself a favor and toss that one somewhere into the woods. The seeds will be ready to maybe make a new raspberry plant, but very likely that there's tiny little fruit fly larvae in there. So you really want them when they're still firm. You want to eat those ones. The other ones, you can wash them. You can flood them with water in a bin. And then the larvae, the worms, if there are any in there, will kind of float to the top, and you can just, you know, kind of like scrape them out. And that way you're not eating worms. But anything like this is great. And actually, you look hot. Hey, sweet girl. Yeah, you look hot. You want some raspberries. Oh. Good job of them. Alright, so here's Old Man Walking Trail end. It actually curls back this way for some more, but I'm going to head up to see the Wildflower Hill here. I think it's pretty much the same as the last time I showed it. Oregano in flower, lavender, they're the purple flowers you can see. I forget what these are. I forget what these are called. I'll have to look them up. Very nice flowers. I picked those out at a native wildflower nursery. And here's the pond. So we'll save exploring the pond for part 3. And I think we'll just end the video here with a teaser of how gorgeous it is. Like, look at the St. John's wort up there. Just absolutely stunning. And I'll see you on the next one. So thanks for taking a little walking tour with me. And I hope you enjoy the next couple days of your summer. See you around.